We often think of the ribcage as body armor, a rigid structure designed to protect our heart and lungs. But what if I told you there was much more to it than that? What if your ribcage is not just a cage, but a key or a bridge? A dynamic, living structure that holds the secret to better breathing, reduced stress, better brain function, and even less body pain and tension. Hi, I'm Alexis Wadeland, osteopath, co-founder of Blossoming Me and Healthy Learning Lounge. And I believe that the ribcage is an often overlooked link between your physical posture and your emotional state. It's where movement meets stillness and breath joins biology. If you've been exploring the nervous system regulation, improved stress levels, or reducing chronic pain, but still feel like there's something missing, or if you suffer from neck, shoulder, back pain that isn't resolving, this might be the piece you're looking for. In this first part of our 4-part series, we'll explore the anatomy of the ribcage and its deep connection with our autonomic nervous system. We'll unpack how the ribcage mobility impacts your breath, your nervous system, and even your energy levels, as well as your posture and pain conditions. And how you can start to reconnect with this essential, often overlooked part of your body. Anatomically, the ribcage is remarkable. It's made up of 12 pairs of ribs that attach from the spine and curve around the front, some connecting directly with the sternum, others via cartilage, and a few lower ones that float freely. It houses not only your heart and lungs, but it supports and interacts with the spine, the diaphragm, the intercostal muscles, and even the entire shoulder girdle. The ribcage, however, needs to be more than just a rigid protective structure for the heart and lungs. It isn't fixed, it's meant to move, expanding and contracting with every breath, with every tilt and twist and turn of the torso, and a subtle stretch when you reach. This movement also helps us to transfer momentum through the body for more efficient movement and for posture. And it directly connects with the autonomic nervous system, allowing it to impact our emotional state, our mood, our energy levels, and our brain function. For many of us, the ribcage has become stiff, locked down by years of reduced movement, prolonged positions and poor posture, as well as shallow breathing, stress, nervous system protection reactions, organ dysfunction such as a hiatus hernia, or movement compensations from pain conditions. And this restriction doesn't just affect your skeleton, it has a direct impact on your nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system is a part of your nervous system that runs in the background, regulating things like heart rate, digestion, and breathing, helping you to be in a state of engagement, allowing you to connect as well as learn and process information, associated with feeling energized yet calm, and effectively able to move, digest, and procreate, or to be stuck in a state of fear and reactivity, or depressed and withdrawn, paralyzed, so to speak. The autonomic nervous system has 2 main branches, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Traditionally, these 2 branches have been thought of as 2 opposing states, where as a general rule, you're either in a state of stress, fight, fright, flight, or a healthful state of rest, digest, heal. The sympathetic chain is a string of nerves involved in alertness and the stress response. It runs right down along both sides of your spine, tucked just in front of where the ribs meet the spine. When your ribcage is tight or it doesn't move correctly, it can create mechanical pressure or tension along this chain, creating a state of sympathetic activation, felt in chronic stress. When your body is unable to take a deep breath due to an individual rib restriction, organ dysfunction, or tensions of the ribcage from poor posture and poor breathing, this too can signal the sympathetic chain, which communicates to your brain that you are in danger. This creates or intensifies feelings of fear, making you jumpy, hypersensitive, and reactive, unable to sit still and unable to process and think through more complex thoughts and tasks. The vagus nerve is a cranial nerve, a nerve that begins in the brain instead of the spinal cord, and it has 2 main branches, the ventral or front and the dorsal or back branches. Both branches wind their way through and near structures housed in the ribcage: the diaphragm, the heart, the lungs, the esophagus, the stomach, and then down into the intestines. And they're influenced by breath and by posture. Just like the sympathetic chain, when your ribcage is mobile and your breathing is fluid, it sends cues of safety to your brain. But when your breath is shallow or strained, the body reads this as danger. Dr. Stephen Porges, creator of the polyvagal theory, has altered the way many practitioners think of the autonomic nervous system. This theory helps to explain a more complex interplay of emotional states that more accurately align with the human experience. In Dr. Porges' theory, the ventral branch of the vagus nerve needs to be stimulated in order for us to feel safe and engaged. In this state, our body senses are active but not overstimulated. Our brain can engage and perform higher functions of cognition that are not possible in a survival state where instinct, immediate protection-based reactions, not thought-reasoned actions, are prominent. This safe, engaged state allows the human system to interact comfortably with the environment, being more capable of processing information, learning, digesting, healing, and being capable of creating new life, as well as connecting with and understanding others. When the sympathetic chain becomes active, this shuts off the ventral vagus nerve, sending us into a state of what we might traditionally see as a stress response: increased heart rate and blood pressure, sweating, tense muscles, and an increased desire to fight, which might be manifested as aggression, or to run away from a situation, which might be manifested as fidgeting, hyperactivity, and an inability to concentrate. When the dorsal branch of the vagus nerve becomes dominant, the result is a protective play dead type response. This leads us to withdraw with a depressed nervous system state. Here we can become emotionless, lethargic. Our blood pressure may go too low, and it becomes difficult to connect and communicate and interact effectively with others. This could manifest as asocial behavior, depression, and a complete inability to connect to others, to the environment, to life itself. By identifying the ventral and dorsal parts of the vagus nerve as separate and having different actions, Dr. Porges has allowed us to have an increased understanding of a more complex combination of emotional states and how the autonomic nervous system helps to integrate these, as well as ways that we can then begin to improve this balance in order to function more comfortably and effectively and engage in life more fully. The complexity of diverse nervous system emotional states can be more easily understood when we look at the different combinations of these three autonomic pathways. And this is really incredibly interesting, but it's a little bit off topic for now. So I could go through this in another more detailed video if you'd like. Please let me know about that in the comments section. Back to the connection of the ribcage and this complex autonomic nervous system feedback loop. So when the ribcage does not function optimally, it can activate the dorsal branch of the vagus nerve and or the sympathetic chain. When the muscles of the neck become tight and restricted due to the altered mobility of our ribcage, apart from affecting our posture, our neck muscles, our shoulder mobility and neck mobility, and our pain, it can also cause compression in the cranial base, which directly restricts the location where the vagus nerve exits. And or it can pull the C1-2 vertebrae, causing a torsion there, irritating the 11th cranial nerve, the spinal accessory nerve. Both of these disengage the ventral branch of the vagus nerve and allow either the dorsal branch of the vagus nerve or the sympathetic chain to become dominant. This sends us into either a depressed nervous system state or a hyperactive traditional stress type state. Signs that your ribcage might be stuck in a survival mode. We often think we need to do more to regulate our nervous system. But what if the first step was simply noticing how we are or are not moving? Here are a few everyday signs that your ribcage might be stiff or not functioning optimally. Shallow chest breathing. especially during rest? Does your belly gently move down and out, followed by your ribcage expanding out in all directions? Or does your belly come out, but your lower ribs don't move at all? Or if they move, they might pull forward rather than backwards and outwards. Or maybe your shoulder and neck muscles work when you're breathing. Do you have tension in your neck or your shoulders or your upper back, even though you haven't overworked them with exercise or lifting? Do you have a hunched forward rounded posture? Do you have reduced curves of the spine so that your spine is a bit straighter than it should be? Or maybe increased curves of your spine so that your thoracic spine is more rounded? When you side bend and rotate, is your upper back or torso in pain or restricted, or is it difficult to do those movements? Do you have digestive issues like bloating or reflux? Do you have fatigue or brain fog that doesn't seem to lift? Do you feel anxiety or irritability, especially when you're sitting still? Do you feel stuck in your own body? These may not all seem obviously linked to your ribcage, but they often have at least a component of ribcage function issues. Because when your breath is restricted and or your posture is altered, everything else, your digestion, your emotional state, your whole body, is affected by the altered tensions and pulling. As your body tries to compensate, further tension in the muscles of your ribcage, shoulders, upper back, neck, and even into the pelvis can cause pain to develop. A stressed, anxious, or depressed emotional state affects your breathing, and from there your ribcage becomes affected, followed by everything else as we've discussed, as well as having a reflexive, perpetuating negative emotional state and reduced brain function. A disrupted breathing pattern affects your ribcage and autonomic nervous system, thus affecting your emotional and mental states, your posture, your nervous system, your muscle tension, and your brain function. Restricted musculoskeletal system, or poor posture persistently, restricts your breathing and directly affects your autonomic nervous system, altering your emotional and mental states and your brain capacity and your muscle tension further. Hopefully you can see how the ribcage, nervous system, breathing, and musculoskeletal system with muscle tension, posture, and pain conditions are all interconnected. What about energy? When we don't get enough oxygen into our body, your body will tip into a spinal sympathetic stress or dorsal vagal nerve activity, and your body cannot move energy through breath and movement effectively. Your cells don't get quite enough oxygen and cannot effectively create ATP, which is energy, and your brain tips into either a hyperactive type state where concentration is low and you have short bursts of energy followed by exhaustion, or a state of lethargy, low motivation, and reduced ability to concentrate in general. Oxygen levels only need to drop a small amount to affect the way that your cells create energy. Ribcage mobility isn't about stretching harder or standing straighter. It's about reintroducing your body to subtle, fluid movements that restore the natural wave-like rhythm of breath and unlocks stored tension. So here's just 2 simple ways to help that. First is breath work. Try noticing how you breathe, putting one hand on your upper belly and one hand on your chest. Take a slow, deep inhale through your nose and feel where your breath goes. Is it high in your chest or does it move down? If you place your hands at the sides of your chest and you take another deep breath in, does your ribcage move outwards and backwards? Can be useful also to visualize your ribcage as an expanding umbrella, opening from below, outwards, in all directions, from the front and the side and the back. And the next one is gentle movement, using things like basic side bending and twisting and extension movements. First, to notice how your body moves and if there's any restriction or discomfort, and then to use those movements to increase ribcage range of movement. Science is increasingly supporting the view that mindfulness, meditation, and breathing affects vagal tone and its function, supporting alpha and theta brain waves, which is helping you to relax and think more clearly, and providing positive benefits for both anxiety and depression. Curiosity is the first step towards change. Your ribcage is not a cage. It is a living, moving part of you. One with a profound impact on how you breathe, how you feel, and how you live. When we start to relate to it with awareness and respect, the ripple effect can be significant and powerful. So instead of trying to fix your posture or correct your breathing, what if you just got curious? Start by noticing. Explore how different breathing feels. Breathe a little deeper, breathe a little slower, breathe a little faster. Move your body and your ribcage. Move it around a little bit and notice how it feels. What changes or restrictions can you identify? And remember, change doesn't have to come from force. It comes from attention. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. And with just a small amount of attention and awareness, your body can subtly, almost effortlessly, make improvements in breathing and mobility. And these small changes can be significant. They can create amazing impact on your nervous system, as well as your posture and your muscle tension, which can further bring increased awareness and comfort, as well as increasing mental and emotional states, and improving your general muscle comfort. Next week, we'll dive into how this connects with emotions and energy further. How a healthy, responsive ribcage and nervous system can change your experience of anxiety or depression, and even joy. But just before you go, if this is resonating with you, I'd love to invite you to explore these practices more deeply in my new RibCage Reset mini course, a guided, body-based journey to unlock your breath, reset your nervous system, and rediscover ease in your body. It's a gentle blend of movement, breathwork, and education, designed for anyone looking for simple, natural ways to feel more at ease in their own body, improve their focus, and support everyday energy and well-being. If you're ready to feel more connected to your body and gain some practical tools that you can use straight away, I'd love to invite you into this mini course. It's all about helping you to tune in, move better, and feel more like yourself again.
So that's it for today. Did it raise any questions or aha moments? If so, I'd love to hear them, so please put those in the comments section. I love answering questions. I hope you found today useful. And if you know someone who could use this information, please share it. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, and in health, bye for now.